And good morning. I'm the Fort Worth Playboy, and this is the Fort Worth Playboy Morning Show here on May 14th, I believe, Tuesday morning, 2024, just so I can keep track of all these because everything looks the same. And so thank you for being here. And what do we do here? We cover game, pickup, relationships, and sex. And I say we, it's usually meaning myself and my Playboy's Bunny. She's already said good morning, and we are up early, and it's been a week already, and it's just Tuesday. So we're glad you're here. What do we cover? Like I said, game, pickup, relationships, and sex. And we fall under the umbrella of the red pill, which has become a very popular term here in just the last few weeks. It kind of comes and goes from people's vocabulary, and people try to fight and define it, which is one of the reasons we kind of stay in our own lane. But the red pill really encompasses both MGTOW and men's rights activists and really any intersexual dynamics, be it economic, psychological, academic, any social, economic, any interactions between the sexes and kind of that balance that's always being tried to find between the two. But when you come to our timeline, mine or my Playboy's Bunny or our YouTube channel, we want you to know that you can find actionable, on the ground, tactical information that will either help you move a girl from a complete stranger to in your bed and naked and having fun, to having a girlfriend, to all the way to reigniting the passion in a marriage that's 20 or 30 years in, which is what Bunny really specializes in, which I think is probably one of the most challenging endeavors you can undertake. Very, very challenging, but she's very good at it. So that's who we are and what we do. I always start off with a maxim from Chateau Artiste, which is kind of like where I came from here. And today's maxim is pretty simple, very straightforward. Some of these things are kind of like deep philosophy, and some of them are kind of cutting, but this is very basic training, which a lot of my stuff is really. You get the basics down, everything else tends to fall into place. So maxim number 39, there's about 200 of them. So this was along the way. He had been picking up steam. Stop smiling so much. Girls will think you're ingratiating. Girls prefer men they can ingratiate themselves to. If you walk around with a big dumb smile, and you should, everybody kind of is a little bit different with this. Some guys are like super serious. Some guys can kind of like monitor how they come across to the world. And then there's just some guys that are kind of like lighthearted, easygoing. And they tend to not end up. And I can't think of a guy that said, I'm kind of a comedian and I end up, not taking, girls don't take me seriously. I usually get guys that are more on the logical side and they've had to learn how to loosen up. But stop smiling so much, which is a good thing, because what this does, and there's been studies that have proven this, is women are more attracted to men that they're not sure what his feelings are about her. So the less emotion, the less of your cards, for lack of a better explanation, the less of your hand that you can reveal, the more interested she'll find you. It's kind of like I was watching one of Coach Corey Wayne's videos the other day, and he was talking about staying on the phone all the time before you even meet, because after a while, you can actually overtext or overtalk a girl. And she's like, well, why would I meet this guy? I know everything about him. Because girls, if you're smiling, you're kind of giving yourself away. And there's nothing wrong with being, friendly, but overly friendly, not discerning can be too revealing. So if you can kind of tone it down a little bit and you don't want to walk around with a big, stupid grin on your face, stop smiling so much. Girls will think you're ingratiating, but girls prefer men they can ingratiate themselves to, men that they can entertain, men that they can kind of bring out of their shell, men that they can chase. They may not be doing it right from the very beginning, but that's what it does. So being more neutral, revealing less, being more succinct, and for lack of a better word, you're kind of judging her. And guys that are smiling with a big grin on their face aren't judging. They're like easily accepting her. So you want to have a little bit more where you're screening her for her qualities. And you wouldn't do that with a smile on your face. So it's just one of those things that you can, again, like with posture, stand up taller, more power poses, don't lean in. It's little things like this. And again, people underestimate, especially men, how much is conveyed non-verbally. And this is one of those things that if you can kind of get control of it, you can come across to more women more powerfully, and they will start trying to qualify themselves to you. And that's the word I was trying to find earlier is, you're trying to find quality women. So you kind of have to screen them, and guys with a big grin on their face are already accepting to a certain extent. So you want to have a little bit more discernment when you're talking to a girl. And again, you're looking for flaws. You don't have to talk about it, but it really does make it easier to interact with beautiful, attractive women if you do see some of their flaws. Otherwise, it kind of overwhelms your brain. Guys get tongue-tied and they start freaking out. So maxim number 39, be aware of your face. It never hurts. And I know this sounds crazy, but it matters. Is, even like talking to yourself in front of the mirror, just watch your own facial expression, see how you feel, because this is a hard thing to do on the fly. But you'll be surprised, especially if you're kind of like lighthearted. With me, I had to be more friendly in appearance because I'm like 6'2", and sometimes I'd hit that mid 250, and so you're intimidating in the first place. It tended to take girls off guard. If you're a little bit more friendly, you can't walk around looking angry, because you already look angry almost all the time. So that's the balance you have to strike, is find what works best for you. If you have kind of an intimidating appearance, but you're a little bit more friendlier, that contrast makes you more attractive. So that's just a suggestion. Probably one of the reasons that this wasn't an issue for me, but I can see where it can become an issue for a lot of men, especially if you're easygoing and laid back. Maxim number 39, stop smiling so much. Girls will think you're ingratiating. Will think you're ingratiating. Girls prefer men they can ingratiate themselves to. Women are more attracted to men whom they're not sure of his feelings for them. So that's a big deal. Just neutral, balancer 182, a neutral, or, and you can flip back and forth. If she says something that pleases you, you can smile. If she says something that is displeasing, you can frown. It's one of those things that don't be afraid of showing displeasure, even if it's just fleeting. And again, a little bit of this is acting. So, because it is game, there's a reason that we call it game. There's some acting in there. But you can control the narrative through your facial expressions. Next topic, basic training. And man, I probably cover this at least once every 2 or 3 days. Anytime you bring up girls being excited about going out and meeting up with you, there's always some knucklehead jumping in about, maybe she's just looking for a free dinner. Girls just want a free dinner. And you're like, man, how jaded and how stereotypical do you have to be? Basic training. Meet for drinks only for first dates. This takes care of thousands of potential problems that could arise. What does meeting for drinks only? That's your rule. Hey, can we meet for dinner? No, I'd rather meet up just for a couple drinks and let's see how things go. Just always just meet for drinks. It's what you do. And you control what's going to happen. You're paying, you're taking care of the whole thing. Let's just meet up and get a drink and see how it goes from there. There's a low commitment. Again, girls they'll try to frame this. Girls like to frame things as a date because that gives her the upper hand where you're trying to qualify yourself to her. But if you're just meeting up, just going to hang out. And it keeps it casual. It's still a date. It still can lead to sex, but you keep that label off of it, and it keeps the power balance a lot more even. Girls love to date because they're calling the shots. He's trying to ingratiate himself to her. But if you're just meeting up, it's more even keeled, and you're kind of going to feel this girl out and see if you like her or not. Budget friendly. Again, it's probably a quarter of the cost of going out to dinner. Dinner, depending where you're at in the United States, it can be anywhere $50 to $150 easily. Just for dinner, an appetizer, and not even really getting into the heavy drinking. So it's easier, especially if you're dating a lot. Meeting up for drinks is definitely going to be easier on your budget. Low time commitment. If you're on the if you're on the 2-date system, your first meetup is anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour. So you want to have like a cutoff time. You don't want to get overly extended, especially if you're going to bring her back to close her on the second date. If the first date, if you start to feel that you can close her that day, that night, it's as long as you need it to be. So low time commitment, initial, for just drinks. We're just going to meet up, have a couple drinks, see how it goes. Good for screening a lot of girls fast. This is one of those things you could probably do maybe 2 or 3 a night if you have really tight scheduling and can get them in and out. And some guys, especially if you're younger, you could pull this off where you can meet one at 7, one at 8:30. You want to give yourself a little bit of time to recover and maybe walk to another venue, but you can always bring both to the same one. So low time commitment, good for screening a lot of girls fast. Easy to bail if a date goes bad. If your meetup, if you come in and she's not like her pictures, she's larger, she uses so many filters, she literally doesn't look like the person you thought, and not in a good way, or they have a bad personality, then it's easier to just go, hey, you know what? I'm going to take off. And you pay your bill and you walk out. So that's one of the key factors of just meeting for drinks on the first meetup. It's just, the idea is to screen her. You're going to get a feel for, is she worth more investment, or can you close that night? It just gives you more flexibility, because if you're stuck at dinner, it's a lot harder to just tab out and leave if she's just not somebody you want to be around, or if she presents a bad front. So you got to know that. And you can extend it out if it's going well. That way you have flexibility. And remember, this is the thing too, and Buddy and I always say this, and Buddy's better. Girls don't like fucking on a full stomach. So there's really no positives with dinner, on first date for dinner, because at best you meet up for a couple drinks and then you're banging. And no girl wants to bang on a full stomach. They feel fat, they feel gross, they don't feel good, they feel slow, and they just don't feel their best. So nobody likes fucking on a full stomach. There's no positive there for dinner. If anything, it's a net negative. So that's why in basic training, you meet for drinks only for first dates. Guys get all kind of bent out of shape when, we're like, hey, girls are excited to meet you the first time. I mean, a girl will get ready. All these TikToks that you see where the girls going on 3 dates a night. This is an anomaly. It's an attention ploy. And most girls, the vast majority, especially if you're not in New York City, the vast majority of girls are excited. They've flipped through that fucking app. Out of 5,000 guys, they chose you to meet up with. They might buy some shoes. They've talked to their girlfriends. They left work early. They took a shower. They took 3 hours to get ready. And they're excited to meet you. They're hoping that this will be the last fucking first date they ever have to go on. And they want to have a good time. They want you to win. And so that's why your same day lay is not uncommon with this practice. Drinks are later in the evening. It's darker. It's a sexy venue. Make sex happen. You lead her all the way to it. You know what you're doing. You're doing her a favor by helping her have an experience that she wants to have anyway. So there's all kinds of benefits to meeting for drinks only. Girls are excited to meet you. They want things to go well, so you make that happen for them. So that's a real deal when it comes to basic training, meeting for drinks only for first dates. And let's go to the next tweet. 99% of the biggest sluts on the face of the earth describe themselves as shy at first, but friendly once I get to know you. Here's a hint. All girls are shy at first. Again, if a girl really likes you, and I mean, she knows about you, she's heard about you, she might know a couple girls that you've banged. At most, she might put herself inside a room that you're in and turn her back to you. That's why I tell guys, if you go to a party, you can identify the girls that are probably interested in you because they'll be about 5 or 6 feet away from you and they'll have their back turned to you. And they're asking their friends, is he looking at me? Is he looking at the back of my head? Is he coming over here? No? Okay, good. That's girl game right there. Proximity. They will put themselves in your proximity, but it won't be like proximity where we think where they sit down next to you. They mean like within a quarter mile. You can actually see them from a distance. To them, that should be enough. And that's the most risk most girls are going to take because they're all shy at first. But again, they're protecting their ego, protecting their reputation, protecting, just avoiding any the slightest chance of rejection. Therefore, if he barely ever knows that I was interested, he can't reject me. So shy at first describes 99.9% of girls. Not all. Some girls can carry a conversation. Some girls are more interesting than others. But you just have to know that you're going to have to initiate the conversation. And you're going to have to keep that conversation going the first few minutes. And I think I talked about this yesterday. Because of this shy at first thing, there's a couple things going on. You've got to kind of keep it going in order to figure out if she's interested but shy, if she's disinterested, or if she's boring. Because those are the 3 things that might be there. If she's interested, she will start picking it up in a minute or two, kind of starts getting engaged. 2, if she's disinterested, she'll look at her phone, she'll look around, she'll talk to her friend. She will not make eye contact. She won't be engaged. And if she's just boring, she'll give you like 1-word answers. And you got to understand, like, girls, there's not a lot going on behind the shades. Like sometimes they're just boring women. And there's a lot of them out there. So you have to spend time meeting a lot of girls, initiating to figure out if they're interested, disinterested, or just plain boring, not somebody you want to be around. So you can break contact. It's nothing personal. You just got to go. So that's the real deal. And again, every time I put this out, some knucklehead will jump in and go, well, this girl, girls walk up and talk to me. There's the exceptions. The exceptions prove the rule in game. You're always going to have exceptions, and the exceptions prove the vast majority of women are not going to. There are men that can move through the world that initiate and have a regular sex life, and an outstanding sex life. But if they did not initiate, they do not carry the handsomeness, the charisma, outgoing right on the front end of no girl would ever actually speak to them first. And you see it all the time. You'll have the friend that's kind of ugly or kind of chubby, but they have charisma, they have game, be it natural or learned, and they just project themselves out into the world and they get laid like tile. So there's all kinds of benefits to putting yourself out there. You just got to remember, they're all going to be shy at first. That way, don't let it throw you when you open them up and you're trying to talk to them and they're just kind of flat, because there's going to be some lag time. There's going to be some lag time, even with you, with a man who's interesting, because they're so used to like shutting down in front of like beta men or guys that are just bothersome or pests or sex pests. You are a welcome guest in her life, and most guys are an unwelcome pest. So you have to give them a minute or two to kind of like click that this is an interesting man that I want the conversation to keep going. So you have to let them kind of like light up, and you'll see it. You'll literally see their eyes kind of light up when they start getting engaged, and they realize that, you know, there's more here than the other 999 men that have talked to her in the last month. So that's the real deal. 99% of the biggest sluts on the face of the earth describe themselves as shy at first, but friendly once I get to know you. Hint, all girls everywhere at all times are shy at first. So you can just plan on it. That way you're not caught off guard when they're kind of like low energy in the beginning, and then they'll like come out of it. This is a video, and I'm not going to run through the entire video from yesterday, but basically her and a guy went out. They went back to his place. She said, hey, nothing sexual is going to happen. He said, okay. And so he didn't try. He just, like, for lack of a better word, I think they actually use the word cuddled in bed all night. And she went home in the morning and she said, this was bad. You know, I felt ugly walking away from this. And so you have to realize that girls will forgive you for pursuing your manly desires, but she will not forgive you for being an asexual coward. It's just like Chateau says in one of the maxims is a girl will forgive you for trying to get into her panties on the first night, but she won't forgive you for not even trying. So that's the deal. I mean, that's why we kind of like in our world, there's always like guys that say, don't go for the kiss close on the first date and all this other bullshit. I say you should always escalate physically and at least try to go for a kiss close on the first date. That way there's never any confusion as to what you're there for. Because a lot of times these girls will go out the second time, they'll go, oh, I thought we were just friends. You know, they're going to use every excuse in the book to throw you off. This is beta bait. And again, just like she'd been thinking about having sex with this guy. Why? Because she brought it up. We're not going to have sex. That means she's thinking, you know what? Am I going to have sex with this guy? So you have to remember, again, there's going to be last minute resistance. This is part of the game. This is part of the script. You have to at least attempt it. And she can say no. And you go, okay, but you have to actually try. That's the game. And our rules on last minute resistance, and I say this with extreme caution. So the first no, and then you can back off, and then you can move in again. 2 no's, you shut it down. We don't go to 3. You just go once is kind of like the engagement, and the second attempt, sometimes it goes. And if it doesn't, you shut it down. That's it for the night. And that's just, it's the game. I mean, there are all kinds of comments in here on like, you know, oh, you don't want to go, you don't want her to change her mind later, and me too, and all this other stuff. But I don't know anybody that's ever actually dealt with that. And I asked in the comments, and I haven't anybody respond yet, has it ever happened to them that a girl came back and, you know, things went south? Because this is the game, you know, and in a way, this guy did her a great disservice by not even trying. He made her feel unattractive. He kind of shut down any potential of getting together in the future that they have. He really kind of hurt her. So that's not our job. Our job is to help girls feel better and have fun and more sex and enjoy themselves and go home glowing and feeling good. And they've met a high quality, high value man. But instead she goes home and she's like, I don't feel good about myself. I don't feel attractive. I hope this doesn't happen again. So she's playing the game right, and he's not going by the script, and everybody suffers. He doesn't get laid. She doesn't get laid. He gets, you know, ghosted. and she has to go on and try to find the next guy. So nothing good comes out of that. You got to follow the script. Girls will forgive you for pursuing your manly desires. She will not forgive you for being an asexual coward. Keep that in mind. Always at least attempt to do a kiss close, attempt at least project yourself out into the world. Girls are receivers. You are the action taker. You have to go out forward. You have to go forward. They take you in. Again, that's how the whole thing is built. You cannot wait for them to come to you physically because you'll be waiting forever. And that's the real deal. And that was what this was all about. There's all kinds of, I forget what it's like. Because at least, if you're following me or Bunny, you tend to have some experience, some understanding, some suspicion that things aren't what they are in the mainstream press or their basic narrative, or that women are a mystery. But sometimes when we get exposed to like Richard's timeline, which is really much more normal people, there's a lot of confusion, and they really take her at her word. And what do we say? Girls never want to be taken seriously. They are saying stuff's coming out of their mouth, and none of it means anything. So you have to kind of like look at the context of the conversation and where you're at and the whole picture, take it all in to make your judge decide what you're going to do. But if you have certain rules, like I'm always going to try to close, I'm always going to try to at least escalate physically, and this is with a girl that you find attractive, then you can't go wrong. You always try to escalate physically. She says, no, fine, but you tried, and that's your job. So girls will forgive you for pursuing your manly desires. She will not forgive you for being an asexual coward. And it happens all the time. I think we're at like 27 minutes. Let's see if there's anything else on the timeline worth discussing. Mac Monkey, Where to Bring Girls Under 21. Bunny has a book, Cheap Dates. I think it's like $9. That's the book you need. It gives you all kinds of ideas on where to take girls that are underage, that can't drink. And you can go from there. I can't remember how many ideas, and I need to know that. That's the real deal. Cheap dates that don't feel cheap. I think that's the name of the book. So don't hold me to that. But if you go to My Playboy's Bunny at gumroad.com, it'll be in there. And it's very popular, and it's a very common question. And it gives you more ideas. Even for guys that do drink, it gives you some ideas beyond just a regular like nightclub or venue, for evening drinking, that sort of thing. She's got some great ideas in there on like cheap dates that don't feel cheap. We covered a lot of this yesterday. I think that may be wrapping it up for today. You'll probably see me back here in about 15 minutes with the question of the day. If you guys like this, subscribe, share it with your friends. If you want to go deeper on any topics, I have my entire library open on Fort Worth Playboy at gumroad.com. All the titles in there. Nothing's more than like $39 or $49. And it all goes a little bit deeper in all this, like how to build your dating system, covers everything that we've talked about today. Basic training covers most of everything that we've talked about. And I really do like basic training 1 and 2. It's a bundle together. And it's 100 tips on laying down a foundation in game to make yourself more attractive, and how to move girls from stranger to in your bed, and also managing a relationship and moving them down the line all the way into marriage. So those are the books that are in there, among others. And if you have any questions, or if you want a consultation, there'll be a consultation link immediately below. Get on the phone, work on your specific problems, challenges, and get those things solved and get you on your way. If you guys like it, like, share, and subscribe. And I appreciate your time today. And I will see you tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Have a great day.